And now let's dig into your briefing details. President Bola Tinubu has appealed to organizers of the August protests over the rising economic hardship in the country to shelve it. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris made the appeal on behalf of the president after a meeting at the presidential villa, Abuja. The president also assured those behind the planned protests across the country that it was uncalled for, since his administration was already addressing the reason for the called protests. The Senate has passed the proposed new national minimum wage bill of 70,000 naira. The bill was sent to the Senate after a meeting between the federal government, the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC), the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria (TUC), and organized labor in the country. Still in the National Assembly, an amended bill to give the Inspector General of Police a 4-year tenure has been passed. The bill passed through first, second, and third reading on the floors of the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Inspector General can retire on attaining the public service retirement age of 60. However, following the passage of the bill, an Inspector General who has not completed 4 years in office can stay on after the age of 60. Senate Leader Okpeyemi Bamidele explained that the proposed legislation sought to retain a person appointed to office as Inspector General of Police to remain in the office until the end of the term stipulated in the letter of appointment. Senate President Godswill Akpabio has apologized to Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the senator representing Kogi Central, for likening her conduct in the Senate to that of a nightclub. Akpabio tendered the apology during the plenary on Tuesday, saying in the last 1 week he had come under criticism on social media and from women rights groups over the incident. Akpoti-Uduaghan had commented on a motion before she got the permission of the Senate President to speak, which contravened the Senate standing order. And the Katsina government has set up a 7-member committee to investigate alleged torture against personnel of the state's Hisbah board after a viral video allegedly showing personnel of the board torturing individuals. Secretary to the state government Abdullahi Garba Faskari said the decision was in response to reports and complaints received by the government from the public. The committee would be headed by the Commissioner for Youth and Sports, Aliyu Lawal. And now to the foreign scene. The death toll from a landslide in southern Ethiopia's Gofa district has hit over 200, a local official confirmed. The mudslides in the area occurred over the weekend following a heavy rain. While rescue operation continues well into Monday, many people using their bare hands to find victims. Another landslide erupted, burying many of the would-be rescuers. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has expressed deep sadness over the tragic incident, calling it a terrible loss in Gofa. He said a federal disaster prevention task force had been sent to the location. While the World Health Organization (WHO) Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, an Ethiopian, said his agency has also dispatched a team to the site. Meantime, senators in Liberia are considering a proposal to relocate the country's capital from Monrovia due to recurring floods, overcrowding, and poor physical planning. The Senate Joint Committee came up with the idea of relocation from Monrovia after flash floods triggered by torrential rains between the end of June and early July left nearly 50,000 Liberians in urgent need of shelter. Former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf had in 2012 talked about moving the capital of Monrovia to Zacapa in the heart of the country. Moving on now to the US, Vice President and Democratic Party presumptive nominee Kamala Harris has addressed a crowd of supporters in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a first since President Joe Biden endorsed her as his replacement in November election. Kamala, speaking to party supporters at a high school in a suburb of Milwaukee, accused Trump of accepting funding from big corporations in exchange for access. She reminded Americans that the former president had only recently been convicted and found guilty of fraud on 34-count charge.
Took on purpose perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. In this campaign, I promise you, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week.
This campaign has crossed $81 million in funding since Biden announced he supports her to run in the November poll. In business, the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) has again raised the monetary policy rate MPR, which measures interest rates, by 50 basis points from 26.25% to 26.75%. CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso announced the hike at the end of the 296th Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) meeting in Abuja. The MPC adjusted the asymmetric corridor around the MPR from plus 100 to minus 300 to plus 500 to minus 100 basis. The MPC also retained the cash reserve ratio CRR of deposit money banks at 45% and merchant banks at 14%, and retained the liquidity ratio at 30%. It is the fourth raise in the MPR since September 2023. And the African group at the World Trade Organization (WHO) has endorsed its Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala for a second four-year term. 58 of the 164 member states of the World Trade Organization (WTO) members have expressed support for a proposal from the African group supporting the incumbent Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Okonjo-Iweala was first appointed in March 2021 to the position, and her tenure ends in August 2025, but is eligible to run for a second term. She was a former Minister of Foreign Affairs and Finance Minister in Nigeria who had served as economic consultant to governments across Africa. She is the first woman and the first African to serve as WTO, that's the World Trade Organization, Director General. In entertainment, comedian and skit maker Chukwuebuka Amuzie, popularly known as Brain Jota, has paid a visit to Highlife singer Mike Ejeagha, known as Gentleman, in Enugu. Brain Jota's visit comes days after his dance skit challenge made Ejeagha's song Kaesi Leonye Isioche, released over 40 years ago, went viral across the world. He shared the photo of his visit to the country home of the 93-year-old singer, accompanied by friends and team members from Lagos. The dance moves involves mostly two people walking in opposite direction do a sudden leap forward, followed by a raised leg in salute, then one person chases the other at the chorus, wo 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 wo. Di nke izizi abịa ejo, nke igbo abịa ejo, nke ita abịa ejo, nke na-abịa ejo. To the Highlife musician on his Instagram page. And as the world awaits the opening ceremony of the 33rd edition of Modern Olympics in Paris, France, there are indications that French-Canadian Grammy-winning singer Celine Dion could give a surprise performance. President Emmanuel Macron dropped the hint in an interview with state media France 2, saying it would be a fantastic news if Celine Dion were to perform at the Paris 2024 Olympics opening ceremony. Macron, who stopped short of confirming it, said he would be thrilled if she could be at the opening ceremony like all compatriots. It could be Dion's comeback after she was diagnosed with stiff person syndrome (SPS) in December 2022, forcing her to cancel several live shows across the world. Celine Dion, French singer Aya Nakamura of African descent, as well as Lady Gaga have been sighted in Paris ahead of the opening ceremony. It would be the second time that Dion had participated in an opening ceremony of the Olympic Games after performing in Atlanta 1996. And the last original member of the Motown group, the Four Tops, has died at the age of 88. According to a family source, Abdul Duke Fakir died of heart failure. The Four Tops were among Motown's most popular enduring acts, hitting their peak in the 1960s. Between 1964 and 1967, they had 11 top 20 hits, including 2 number-1 hits, I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, and Reach Out, I'll Be There. They reached the top 20 for the last time in the early 1980s with When She Was My Girl. And in sports, Nigeria Super Falcons will begin their quest for the Olympic gold against Brazil on Thursday at the Bordeaux Stadium in France. Randy Wardrum-led girls are in Group C with Brazil, Spain, and Japan. The Falcons, captained by Rasheedat Ajibade, will hope to avenge their 2008 3-1 defeat to Brazil in China. Meantime, FIFA is accused of neglecting its responsibilities as a governing body, favoring its commercial interests to the detriment of national leagues and players' welfare. In 2025, FIFA will hold its first edition of the rebranded Club World Cup, expanded to 32-team competition that will last 4 weeks across next June and July. A new annual competition called the FIFA Intercontinental Cup will replace the previous version of the Club World Cup next December. The legal complaint claims that FIFA is guilty of breaching the EU competition law and of an abuse of dominance as both a regulator and organizer. And the Canadian Olympic Committee has apologized after a Canadian soccer staff member allegedly flew a drone over the New Zealand women's football team training session. The incident occurred on Monday in Saint Etienne, with the teams facing each other in Group A of the Olympic football team on Thursday. The New Zealand Olympic Committee has formally lodged the incident with the IOC, that's the International Olympic Committee Integrity Unit, and has asked Canada for a full review. That's your brief on Newsbrief TV. I am Omashaye Ashinua. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Newsbrief TV 001. Like, comment, and share our pages, and also share your stories with us. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.